So let's move to our next panel, which is DeFi on the move. And we have some great panel top speakers: Alex from MoveCon Labs, Ted from Turbos Finance, Elyscope from Navi Protocol, Chris from Scallop, Adrian and Jack from Vibrant X, Marasi from DeFi, and Eslan from Mission Labs. Let's also invite Tegan from Supra to be the moderator and take the mic from here.
Thank you so much for the intro, John. So yeah, my name's Tegan. I'll be the moderator for the DeFi panel. Just to give a brief primer and introduction for what to expect here, we're really going to be focusing around the real-world use cases and applications of MoveLang for this panel. So spotlighting 6 innovative protocols that we're joined here by our panelists representing that are pushing the boundaries of what can be built on the rails of Move. Additionally, we will also be accompanied by Mistin Labs, the very creators of Sui. So with that, I'd like to go around and just get intros from everyone. Maybe we'll start with Elyscope from Navi.
Sure, yeah. Hey, everyone. Very nice to be back here after more than a year. This is Elyscope from Navi Protocol. Navi Protocol, we're the leading liquidity protocol on top of Sui network that offers lending plus LST DeFi basic infrastructure. So far, since launching 12 months mainnet, we have been growing to 230 million TVL with the lending business plus 45 million TVL on liquid staking business. Now, coming back to the ecosystem, very excited to be back on stage to share our growth and future plans. Yeah.
Maybe Ted from Turbos, do you want to?
Hey guys, this is Ted at Turbos. Turbos is one of the leading DEX on Sui ecosystem. And we have been, since launch mid last year, become the center of the Mimi and community projects token launch platform on Sui ecosystem. I'm very excited to be here. This is probably my second online MoveCon. I'm very happy here to share updates and future roadmap here. Thanks.
I see that I'm next in the, okay, great. Hey everybody, I'm Alex. I'm co-founder CEO of MoveCon Labs. I'm building a fully on-chain order book infrastructure for the Aptos blockchain that's been live since November of last year. It's completely on-chain and open source. And so there are, at this point, 7 or 8 projects we've integrated. I can't tell, I take calls a lot with inbounds of people who want to add stuff. So we're building the liquidity layer for Aptos DeFi. And right now we're also working internally on a fun sort of hackathon sprint for a consumer product that we're going to go live with in an alpha over the next week. So everyone can stand by for that in the community. And I'm excited to talk about Move, concurrency, parallelism, all the above. And I guess I'll hand it off to Chris, who I had the pleasure of meeting in person at the MoveCon earlier this year. I could hear him a little better in the beginning of the year, though, than I can right now.
We're having a little trouble here.
Yeah, Chris, you might still be muted. I'll hand it off to DeFi from.
Oh, hey guys.
Oh, there we go. Nice.
Yeah. Thanks, Alex. Yeah, I'm back. Yeah, glad to see the old friends, including just everybody, the ecosystem partners. Yeah. So I'm Chris. I'm the CEO and founder of Scallop, and Scallop is the next generation money market for Sui. We have lending and borrowing, we have swap, we have Scallop tools for building PTBs. We also have 2 layers of SDK for developers, and we emphasize our security, transparency, stability, and comprehensive support for users. And very happy to be here. I've seen this face for many times, and then see this is my first MoveCon. Yeah, so I will pass the mic to the next guest.
Guys, thanks for inviting us. I'm Harshi Patel from DeFi, and DeFi is actually a DeFi super app and you can experience all the DeFi applications within Aptos in one single app. So maybe you just want to trade, or maybe want to do some leverage trading, or maybe want to do some swaps, buying NFTs, or pretty much all DeFi products across Aptos in one single place. So yeah, you can think of DeFi as a gateway to Aptos, and you can also think of it as a decentralized version of Binance or Robinhood. And all these activities can be done with your friends. But yeah, we also have some features around social fi activities where you can trade along with friends and get rewarded for some stuff like that. So yeah, that's pretty much about DeFi, and I'd like to pass on to Aslan from Mistin Labs.
Hi all, really nice to meet you guys. I'm Aslan, and I am doing DeFi-related work at Miston Labs, primarily around DeepBook. A longtime veteran in the DeFi space, lots of time spent on EVM side of things, but excited to see the innovation that's happening in Move.
Amazing. Thanks everyone for the intros and some of the alpha that was shared as well. So we also do have a panelist from Vibrant X, which is the Aptos native yield optimizer that allows users to earn compound interest with their holdings. It seems like Adrian from Vibrant X is having a little bit of problems. So I'll start off with the questions, but yeah, we'll have him joining shortly as well. First off, I wanted to really touch on kind of the adoption and benefits that each of you really saw that brought you to wanting to build on top of Move. So the question really is, what are the primary benefits and challenges you've experienced with adopting MoveLang into your project? Let's start again. And actually, Adrian seems to be joining back now. Can you hear us?
Yes. Hello, everyone. So sorry about my internet connection. So I guess that everyone has already have the short introduction. Yeah. So it is my turn, correct?
Yeah.
So I'm Adrian. I'm head of marketing at VibrantX. You already introduced a bit about VibrantX. I can continue when say a little bit more about VibrantX. So we are your aggregator and portfolio management on Aptos. So we are committed to be the premier one-stop shop and the front page of the DeFi on Aptos. And our mission is to onboard and enable DeFi users to navigate multiple safe and efficient yield earning strategies within the Aptos ecosystem. And that's a short introduction about VibrantX.
Amazing. Thank you, Adrian. So now I'll hand off the question for each of the panelists, letting you dissect what is the main primary benefits and challenges in adopting MoveLang to your project. Eliascope from Navi, did you want to start first with this?
Absolutely. It's been a year since we building on top of the Move. I think the biggest challenge we faced is still the developer community is still very nascent and very small in compared with other long-lasting ecosystem like Solana, EVM based, and the documentation, the education cost has been one of the biggest thing. I think Sui Foundation and Miston has been pushing aggressively on. Every event that they have been prioritizing hosting is trying to grow the developer community. So the biggest challenge for us is definitely learning and adapting with the innovation of the Sui Move language pack. Also this was directly reflected in terms of hiring for talents. However, the benefits of adopting this new language is also very obvious in terms of when we're building on DeFi protocol, in terms of this comfortableness with security, and when construct different object and interaction between different smart contract, the object-oriented storage ecosystem offers much more flexibility for us to optimize and thinking about just from a coding standpoint, much more systematic way. And I think the ecosystem has been pushing very hard in terms of innovation and to leverage like ecosystem-driven technical innovation, for example, programmable transaction block and variety of features. As a DeFi building on top of, as a D-app building on top of this, I think the innovation speed really help us to smoothen a lot of foreseeing features, and we do not to build a lot of things from ground up. And that is one of the biggest beneficiary reason why we choose Move and has been really riding with the growth trajectory of the ecosystem.
I think that's definitely echoed in a lot of the conversations I've had, both regards to the challenges and benefits that you've mentioned with Move. The foundation definitely in their speed in which they're innovative and putting like forth educated material for Move in general. I've heard a lot of great things from developers about this. Turbos, do you have maybe some experience that you would like to also share around?
For sure. Just as now Alice mentioned, Move is still quite new and it's constantly evolving. Like Miston Lab has been constantly pushing new features, improving the language, and that needs developers would need time to learn together. But the good thing is, through this journey, we've met so many great developers, the panelists here in person, and really had great experience. These are the people who are open-minded to adopt new language, cutting new technology to build just better products for the market. Now, for the DeFi aspect, assets is a first class. It's actually more intuitive than all the previous models we had on EVM. I always joke about the asset on EVM being only just a numerical value living under the master smart contract, and the smart contract owner can touch your asset or value to be right. But on Sui Move, as everything is different, it's object-based. Even the smart contract owner cannot touch your asset. So this adds a lot of security. Another thing is, for a developer, when you push your contract to the mainnet on Sui, there are always a lot of checks, right? There's sometimes you can pass it. That actually helps you to find out all the bugs that may be in your smart contract before you push it live. So that's also, initially it sounds a bit annoying, but actually it's really helpful to make sure whatever you push is online is much safer. So that's my 2 cents there.
I'd like to dissect that as well, because that's some great points that you brought up, Ted. What initially really drove you to decide to build on Move, maybe instead of EVM, for example? You mentioned, of course, some great points there, but I'd be interested on that journey of first finding out about maybe the object orientation of Move. Maybe was there something that appealed to you right off the bat that you saw, okay, this is something I'm struggling with, and I want to build on top of Move instead?
Yeah, totally. All the hacks we have learned, those accidents on UD, and also DeFi, we heard when our hot NFT project is minting, and all of a sudden DeFi activities are highly jammed because of the underlying infrastructures on some of the EVM ecosystem. But it never happens on Sui. We've been live for more than 1 year. All the DeFi, it's on Turbos, all the DEX activities are very smooth. No matter what happens elsewhere on the mainnet, maybe 10 NFTs are dropping and some GameFis are generating crazy traffic, but it never affects the DeFi sector of the ecosystem. I'm sure the panelists, the many founders here, share the same experience. It's awesome.
Amazing to hear. I think that's actually a great segue into Konia Labs and what they're a high throughput use case, such as a fully on-chain order book. Alex, do you want to touch on a lot of the benefits that you're experiencing here with the scalability and parallel execution that Sui provides for your architecture?
Yeah, thanks to Etienne. So I didn't necessarily set out to build on Move. For me, Move was more of a means to an end to extract the maximum parallelism of the Aptos blockchain, specifically the parallel execution with the account-based modeling that is so intuitive for DeFi. As far as some of the hangups in the original question, yeah, it's early. And so there's the issues with, there's no formal package manager. So the amount of times I've had to help people debug their Move TOML file getting pinned to one version, and then there's a conflicting dependency. That is the worst, but we'll all figure it out. I think one advantage of being earlier and having those headaches is that you can actually influence the way that it gets fixed. So basically the Aptos multi-sig model is built exactly how I want it because I just PR'd a bunch of code into Aptos core. And they're yeah, we need this. We'll take what you want. So you can make the world in your vision if you're early and influence a lot of the development of the ecosystem, whether it's framework code or whatever. I guess that I didn't necessarily choose Move because I love it, although I do love programming Move. It's the ultimate flow state for me is writing code in there because I come from a background in C. But it didn't necessarily have to have all of the awesome guarantees that it has about type safety and assurance. I'm sure that Chris, as an ex-auditor, can wax poetic even more about me than how awesome it is with preventing things like the reentrancy attacks that you might have on Ethereum. But in my case, having come from programming in C mainly, I just thought, okay, and this was a dumb thought that ended up being very true. If anyone can build a scalable distributed system, it's Facebook engineers. So I'll give this a shot. And they could have done it in assembly. They didn't have to move. I would have figured it out, because what really mattered to me was the execution architecture, in particular, that allows the Economy order book to process multiple markets at the same time with concurrent execution in a way that doesn't require them to put these onerous address headers that specify which addresses and what parts of state they'll have to touch. That's an unlock of the dynamic parallelism of the Aptos blockchain that I really couldn't get anywhere else, and why I've built there. And I've done things to get around some of the move stuff. Like I've basically quasi implemented pointers when you're not really supposed to do that in Rust or whatever. But I still do it. That's what happened when I was working on initial versions of the Economy protocol, which actually used a cryptbit tree, which I understand DeepBook uses. So I'm glad to see Aslan in here, because maybe he can comment about that. We ended up moving on to a different hybrid data structure later on, but still a lot of love for the cryptbit tree, because man, implementing that in the beginning was a lot. But I think that's just how resource constrained community goes. Like a lot of people on EVM who are building things, the real innovation is actually in discovering some new like order of n or order of log n or order one like hash map that didn't exist before. And I think there's a lot of that core tech still being built out on Move. The trade-off is that it is really easy to implement stuff on Move. And so sometimes you see projects that like maybe the barrier to entry, if it was higher, would enforce some better quality. I remember I was working with one of the engineers and we were looking at the Block Explorer one time, and it was just littered with this transaction from this one project that was just popping off at the moment. And we looked at the code on the Explorer, and it was like, we were just laughing looking at it. There was no consistency. There were like all these like magic numbers, and we're like, I guess that we're going to let a million flowers bloom here. So that's one of the advantages of having something that's so easy to code in that anyone can launch anything. And yeah, as far as the headaches, I don't know. It's all like initial DevX. Programming on Ethereum, programming in Bitcoin was hard back in the day. Bitcoin even had an overflow error at one point in its history, I believe. So it's not like there aren't quirks to work out. But I think for me, what's more important really is the fact that Move is part of this vertically integrated tech stack that for me on the Aptos blockchain is all focused around high throughput that is required for me to build a system that has TradFi performance. I'll pass it on to whoever wants to follow up. I know I called out a couple people there.
I see Chris and Aslan that you called out, and as well seems to be really agreeing on some of the points there. Do you guys want to chip in on some of the stuff that Alex mentioned?
Yeah, definitely. Yes. Yeah. Move is based on Rust. It's have a low level language security, but still have the high level language the convenience. Yes, it's define what your smart contract can do. It's define the assets, no matter it's Deer Move, Aptos Move, or Sui Move. It's all have this like a very good design. It can avoid like some fake data account attack or some like a memory buffer overflow, or it's and the reentrancy attack is also not possible on Sui, and because we don't have a dynamic callback. So yeah, just so many benefits and advantage that if you use Move to build like especially something deal with digital assets, coins, tokens, or NFTs. Yeah, you definitely don't want it have any problems, any like a risk. So yeah, just a Move have the best security level ever in all smart contract like framework. So yeah, just highly recommend if you are first day here of Move, you need to just read the doc. Yeah, and like some of the very unique design powered by Move. I will more focus on Sui Move because Scala is based on Sui. For example, we have obligations, and for users, they can have different obligations, have multi lending and borrowing their debt, and holding the obligation key can fully make it like some users hold a key can control the smart contract object, and even the smart contract creator, we cannot do anything with it, and then it can have multi obligations and highly increase the composability and the user experience. And others, including like programmable transaction block, I think is the most, I would say, impressive design. One of the most, in my vision, the strongest feature, because it can make the like previously the transaction cannot be least complex, and programmable transaction block can make you build so a very complex transaction with your front end, and then just can execute and send it to blockchain. And yeah, it's just I really like it. Yeah, and then it's also some of the part maybe I will leave to other guests. I think this Move also different version of Move also have different fit for their own layer one consensus. So yeah, I think Move is much more better than EVM. Yes.
Chris is the master shiller for Move. I'm gonna keep track of the GitHub commits after this panel. I'd also be interested to like zoom out, go a little bit more high level in terms of the end user experience for your application, Chris, and for Scallop. Like, how do you also see Move maybe being able to provide a different user experience than if Scallop was built on like EVM?
I would say first of all, for the security, and yeah, if Scala is built on Move, we have obligations. Users can have many sub accounts. We have on top of Scala, we have incentive program, we have VSDM model, and we have a referral program. I can't imagine how much money I need to spend on auditing, and then just it's spend a lot of resources, and not only about resources, it's about the stress, and then one day you wake up and just you make everything 99.9% things perfect, but you only make one mistake and you all just screw up. Yeah. And Move, especially the object structure, make the risk become minimize the risk. Yeah, some of the risk, the same risk happen on like a bad smart contract design happen on Move or on EVM. The result will be just 100% different. Maybe it's on Move, it's only a transaction failed, but on EVM or like some other solutions, it will have very horrible results. Yeah, I think this is one of the things that I want to share the most. Yeah.
That's a great and very interesting point that you bring up, just about the vectors and the areas of vulnerability that will get exposed upon a certain hack or just like a poor kind of contract creation. So that's very interesting to hear more about. Adrian from VibrantX, do you want to add on to this conversation with maybe some of your experience at VibrantX?
Yeah, sure. I can share my experience with building VibrantX with Move. And for us, Move has made it much easier to implement our contracts and build complex leverage strategies. It is strong typing, ease of integrating with other contracts due to the strict interface and dependencies. Such cool concepts like using undroppable structs when doing flash loans are specific things our smart contract developer has really enjoyed and building the contracts. And we also feel very safe when writing our Move contracts, as it's so much less likely to shoot ourselves in the foot with loose dynamic dispatch, reagency, and millions of ways to get our contract exploited when writing simple codes like what we have all seen in other languages like Solidity. So when writing Move, like 99% of all the like common issues are avoided with the Move, the language properties. And Move, especially on Aptos, has a lot of cool features as well, Lambda functions, and made it possible to write much more concise and readable codes. And as we already mentioned earlier, like Move is also generally more secure, which leads to more secure contracts. And there have been a severe smart contract hacks on Aptos. There's never been a severe smart contract hacks on Aptos because of all the securities, the benefits the Move language offers. With Move, we can write complex yet safe codes that guarantees our users know what is going on our platforms and what funds are being moved, and then what contracts are integrated with. So that's all I can say, like, compliment about how awesome the Move language is.
Amazing. Yeah. And I also want to give the stage to Marcy and what you're building with DeFi and like this super app. I think it's very interesting, and it's possibly providing like a more simple feature than a lot of lowering the barrier of entry to DeFi for a lot of people. What made you like maybe pick Move as the building rails for building your application?
Okay, so let me just give you an introduction. So like our team actually has an experience building in other protocols like Solana and Ethereum. And we actually started with Move just around 6 months ago. And to be pretty honest, like the transition wasn't that smooth because there are so many things, like there weren't many resources back then, and even the developer dogs weren't that good at that time. But yeah, many things have changed now, things have improved. And like someone who has actually have experience building in all these protocols, and I totally agree with Chris here, I would say like building in Move is 10x, it provides 10x more benefits when compared to other protocols. And so yeah, Like simply, there are so many things inherently designed in the Move. Like there are things like composability and parallel execution. With this, we can actually make many smart contracts of many protocols or execute several events of different protocols into one single transaction. And also with this, like there's some things, some they call like decompilation, wherein you can actually decompile the codes of other protocols and see how they're actually working and then easily integrate it within our applications. These inherited properties of Move are actually available and has provided us so many benefits. And it's one of the reasons why we have actually chose to build on Move.
Amazing. I think like this panel also has been a very great like complementary to after the MoveLang panel, just hearing all the developers really rave about what they enjoy about the MoveLang, as well, of course, like the kind of challenges in starting to integrate. As we've seen, I think the space is being pushed very fast, and more kind of materials coming out to make new developers joining the ecosystem really easier. Aslan, I want to also let you maybe about anything the panelists have talked about so far. Is there specific topics that you want to touch on?
Yeah, I think this is a good opportunity to wrap up everybody's kinds of ideas into a good conclusion. Briefly, I want to share my perspective on the crypto ecosystem in general. I recall 6 or 7 years ago when I first started building in the space. Maybe some of you guys share the sentiment. I was on Remix. I was watching YouTube videos, how to deploy an ERC20 contract and things like that. And immediately I feel like, all right, Solidity is like a simple, basic language. It's not like the other languages, but it serves this specific purpose, right? Which is to write contracts and deploy them on Ethereum. Now, let's think about how things have changed since then. We had Ether Delta in 2018, which was one of the first DeFi apps. Yep. It was clunky, it was slow, and transactions would just not go through sometimes.
OG right here.
But it was like so new and novel that it was still cool. Everybody wanted to use it. And how have things changed since then? DeFi apps got faster, smoother, better UX. You could take your phone, log into MetaMask, and place like a 20x leverage position on Arbitrum. Like we have gone a long way. But like, how has Solidity changed during this time in the last 6 or 7 years? It hasn't really changed. And I'm sure when it was being first created, they didn't have this like DeFi idea in mind. So now we are here. We are talking about Move. In my opinion, Move was not created to compete or replace Solidity in any way. Move was created simply because the ecosystem demanded it. We reached a point where we cannot really go too much further than where we are right now with Solidity. You cannot get the Web2 experience. You cannot get very fast, very smooth. We have like half-second, 1 second latencies on some L2s, and that's probably going to be the best we can do there. So the way I see it right now, we are in the Ether Delta moment for Move. Just imagine how protocols can evolve with the whole new set of features that object-centric blockchains can provide. And I think we are still in the early stages. We are still working on documentation. We are still working on bringing builders together. But I think this is just the beginning. And once we have perfected some of those things, this is going to become something that we probably don't even know about yet, just how nobody building on Solidity during the first year knew about DeFi, right? But yeah, that's my perspective.
Amazing. That was really well worded and said, and I couldn't have wrapped this up better myself. I would have loved to keep you guys longer and then go through more questions, but unfortunately the time is up for this panel. So yeah, thanks for everyone for joining in. It was great meeting all of you. And there also will be demo sessions for all the protocols here. So please do stick around for that. With that, we will be transitioning to the next panel. So thanks again, everyone, for joining. And yeah, I will leave for now. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you to the panelists, and thank you, Tegan, for moderating DeFi on the Move. It was really inspiring hearing some of the OGs building, the first kind of OGs building apps in the Move space, really on the go, helping shape the Move programming language as they build and they need different features. It was really great to see that. It was nice to hear some of the benefits of Move scalability with parallel execution, account-based model, as well as object-centric architecture. Wonderful panel.